Good morning. Welcome to Chartroom. Today's episode 237. When we're looking at method 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, 6.0, all it really is when we're transitioning from a new number is just a upgraded or better version of sword method. When I received sword method many years ago, when I was just doing it for myself, all I had really received was certain parts of the method that I was using at that time. Not the full version of 6.0 that we're using right now. There was only certain techniques, like sword cuts and the trend lines, what they don't do at the trend lines, and what that was meaning for health and weakness. And even all of that, I didn't know how to teach it properly. There was sometimes I just instinctively just was using it to read, and even then I'm like, okay, but it doesn't make me an expert. I can't predict the markets. We can read what's happening live in the markets. We can also build a map, build a story in case for evidence, and stack odds in our favor. We also have to keep in mind external factors and then also read what's happening in the market as a whole. For example, I did a trade the other day on not the bunny one, the other one, Brett. I did a trade on Brett. I believe Brett's going to do good long term, but Brett was set up for a strong move, a type of structure that I've seen happen tons of times. But the whole market as a whole was telling us weakness. If I choose to ignore that and I still take the trade anyway, I have a higher odds that Brett is that one fish swimming against the stream. So there's principles we also will teach within a map, and that's we want to trade along with the trend, but in that trend, we're going to hunt for certain moves. If the market's in a down move, I'm going to hunt the up move to wait for the break to continue shorting. If the market's in an uptrend, I'm going to hunt the down move. I'm looking for when it's the fish swimming against the stream so I can take the opposite move. In this case, if the market's down, I shouldn't take any of the trades going in the opposite direction, but rather only look for shorting opportunities. If Brett's going up and the whole market's going down, I really should just be patient and looking for cryptos that are shorting, looking for opportunities to short cryptos, which I have we've seen tons of opportunities to short, and we talk about all the time. We see lower prices on the board. That's the season that cryptos are in right now. I don't believe we're at a bottom. I believe that there's still downside. We've been talking since I made my report about XRP and the USDT.D situation. There's room for certain things to hit. Okay. We've been looking in this area specifically from last week. Remember, you guys had this number for the last few weeks, and this is a weekly chart. So I showed you guys on Saturday this specific chart again with my comments from June 22nd about that 5.64 number. And then we hit exactly 5.64 for that week and stopped right there. And there's ways we can know where there's things in advance using our key angles and using a few things such as the overlap. Basically, this 5.64 is a vortex from the key angle of energy here and taking that angle, duplicating that angle at the third energy center. 1, 2, 3. So this is a top along that track. So we know to look there. But another thing we can learn is to just continue going forward. And in a smaller sense, we now have this uptrend and a smaller energy in this area as well. 1, 2, 3. Taking the smaller angle and duplicating it and moving it to the top. So now what we find is where they overlap. Me and El Camino have coined this term as a vortex. Okay, so we call that vortex. And where these areas are overlapping, sometimes they have an effect where they suck price into it for a certain time. And in this case, we can see that USDT had easy clearance from here to here. Now, this is a whole week, so we can always go back to the daily chart and start examining this area a little bit further. But we've stacked the odds in our favor that we can say, hey, 5.64 may be important for us to look at behaviors and what's been happening. Now, all this is going to move up like this. Now we're on top of it. Actually, I can delete that one. We're on top of here. This is going to go in that little crevice. Okay. Now, on the daily chart, each candle represents one day. We saw the similar thing happening. We saw all the pressure from these candles in this area, just like we talked about from last Saturday. And so over the past course of the week, was it Wednesday? Yeah, I think it was Saturday, yeah. So over the course of the last 7 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we've been doing exactly this, rounding against, and that's normal. And I said, okay, most likely what's going to happen, because this pressure that's on the candle, and this being two tops, the top for the blue line and the top for the white line, we're going to see this most likely round down. And if it rounds down, what does that mean for Bitcoin for this next week? You guys remember? What does it mean? Nobody?
It's going to go up.
Yeah, Bitcoin should go back up. And it's not saying it's going to go to the moon, but it has a little bit of room before it hits the next support and possibly will break up to the top side. So what we saw was Bitcoin in $55,000 range. And then during this week, we saw Bitcoin hit back up to closer to 57, 58, 59. So we saw Bitcoin have a small recovery, just like these candles have a small recovery on this. So it's easy. This is why I use USDT.D to help me have a better understanding of what Bitcoin's doing. Because if you can see these tops in advance or know where they are, you know either to really panic or not panic, depending on where they're at. So when we saw, hey, price is breaking on this little shortcut, we probably are going to go up to the 54,000. The 564 area, just like we talked about in June 22nd. So that happened just this past week, the week before last Saturday. And then this week, I said it's most likely because of that pressure, we're probably going to reverse. So Bitcoin should have a very bad week this week, during those weeks, and then a very good week when we come down from this area. So that's how that works. Before we go into cryptos, I'm just going to give you the update for this map. All of that is complete now because that's the territory we're in. If price is allowed to break below this dotted line, pay attention. I want everybody to draw that line. Oh, is that for me? Oh, thank you. Sorry. Coffee. What does it say? And Noah, by faith, Noah prepared an ark by the saving of his house. Oh, praise God, I get a holy cup. Does it have holes in it? Of course. Oh, what is... Thank you. Is that the coffee I bought? Yeah, the little instant pack? Yeah. But there's a coffee machine here. You don't have to use mine. I thought you want to. Okay. It's okay. Why did I buy this one? Does it have mushrooms in it? I don't know. Oh, it was a small packet. There wasn't mushroom for it.
I think there's a creamier on it.
And he's like sugar.
No, it says it's already has sugar on it. So.
Oh, I don't believe it. I think it's not telling the truth. Melody, edit that out of the video. Okay. Look, so pay attention. I want everybody to draw this line. If you haven't already, use this screenshot. This is the same chart that you've already all should have this chart because I didn't do any new updates for this chart. But I want you to remember what we drew last time. If you're getting below this line, that's going to be a sign that this should actually fall lower, either back towards this area, the 4.9, 4.89, the high 480s area, even up until the actual yellow. You can't see me. You can't see me. There we go. Back to the yellow parabolic. Okay, I think this is yellow parabolic. Yes, it is. Okay, and that is a round action, a peak, and another round action on the daily chart. 3 connecting points and price breaks above. And if we're round down, which the odds are high, we're going to round here, which we already started rounding, then most likely we're either going to come back to sword cut or back to the parabolic. I would say we're probably back to the parabolic because this is the vortex of the bottom. Okay, large bottom, parabolic. The vortex is in this little pocket right here. So we may not. So right now, this the high 80s is closer to the sword cut. Here's the sword cut in orange. Okay. If you're familiar with Sword Method 5.0, you're going to know all about sword cuts. Okay. That's what the method was first named about. Now, the reason I would say we're probably going to come to this vortex, to the lower number, at the 4, which in case this is actually 460, it just moves to the side here. This is going to be the high 460s. is because sword cut was already hit. You see, when we broke above here, we sat on that sword cut, and that's when we had the big bounce to the vortex up there. So most likely, if we phase through this support, you're going to see over the next few days, we're probably going to fall possibly to the 467 now. So this is all the same numbers that we've had. I didn't add any numbers. Okay, I'm just moving them all from a left to the right as the story's unfolding more. So instead of being over here, we're just moving this price label here. This one, the 4.9, it's just 4.9, 480 area. That's just gonna stay in the same area. I'm gonna make this one bigger, just to put some more emphasis in my mind, so I know that's my preference or higher probability. Let's make it size 28. Okay, this 4.91 visual order, bring to front, and this one was already hit. I think I can actually add text to this. I didn't even know that. This number has, I'll just put hit. So we're not expecting this to be hit again at this time. This number's hit. I'm expecting 4.98. Let's maybe add some text. Higher expected vortex. Now again, I'm not saying it's going there today, but if it goes there, what would Bitcoin potentially do if price is able to come this low? What is the answer?
Go up.
Go up. So be careful of shorting if you start seeing price do that. For that to happen, price first has to break below this line. So if you see, when approximately, can somebody tell me when approximately that they might expect this to happen, price to move into this little pocket, if it does happen, approximately time-wise? Anybody?
So like,
Sorry, Mr. You were cutting off. What did you say?
Civic event?
No, just somewhere in the ballpark. When this is a daily chart, each one of these is 1 day. Can anybody eyeball it and tell me? Because today's Saturday, right? Maybe 2 or 3 days. You're close. Why 2 or 3 days?
Kind of line it up together. It passes the line about 2 or 3 days.
Good. And I'm going to tell you, she's absolutely right. I'm going to tell you why. Guys, sword method is a method of reading price, the flow of price, and helping you understand more what it's telling you. We can't force price to do anything or go in directions. You can get a good read on it. You can also read as it's happening, and you read it like a newspaper. What is price doing today? What territories? By knowing what territories, what it's doing, what it's not doing at certain important trend lines, using verification, you guys can read primarily what's happening. But you can also gauge timing to some extent, in some degree. She said you can just look at the width of a candle. How many candles could I fit over the past week? It was at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I know price has to make a decision by here, I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in about approximately a week, right? She says 2 or 3 days. That could be maybe a candle here, and then we may actually see price break below. We can try to even come up and play, and then price is either going to break above to health or face through or even down below. Both of them would be weakness. So that would be weakness, and that would be a sign of health. Okay, but you only have so long before it has to happen. So we're talking about a week from now. So by next Saturday, we'll be here again saying, oh, what did price do? And if you see prices, this trend line is not able to hold and price just immediately phases through, it just goes to this area, that's a sign of weakness. We're probably going to be looking to hit this pocket. That's going to be our vortex. Okay. So that's something we can keep an eye on. And you can even put in your notes 8 days. Approximately. Okay, good. All right, so now you guys know what I'm primarily expecting in this week. If we get a break above, that's going to be some good. It'll be actually a delay, but for the most part right now, I'm very curious to see if price breaks below there. We may see Bitcoin get back into the 60s. Maybe Bitcoin's going to be around 60, 63. If it goes really fast, we might see it hit maybe 67 in a short time. And then if we see a strong support here, let me ask you a question, guys. I forgot to ask you this. Is it possible that this vortex is very important for this crypto, for prices to reverse and come back up to that blue line? Yes or no? Is this important? 4.68 at this moment. Diego says yes. And Diego says right. Because remember those round actions here. 1, 2, 3. Here they are. 1, 2, 3. Those three areas. Price is going to remember those areas. It remembers them. The centralization of that energy is the energy is a parabolic type of energy, this yellow line. And price breaking above that and building on top of that is like a springboard, and it can help price break down through this, break above this area, and that would be good or bad for Bitcoin. So say price comes down, we come back up, hit the resistance, and break above into this new area. Is that good or bad for price, for Bitcoin? I mean, depending on how you look on it, right? Bad. Why, Paul? Why is it bad? Do you know? It's inverse. Yeah, it's inverse. The real reason it's bad, guys, is because once we're in that territory, if we've broken past this resistance line, there's very little things to help hold price back. We can see this move very high, but remember, it's inverse. Like Bev says, Paul says it goes opposite. You may see Bitcoin have a big dip, and that could be really scary. If Bitcoin comes here, we're going to be looking for a sign in 1 week. I'm letting everybody know the battle plan. I'm letting you guys know in advance. You guys want to know what's going to happen? Pay attention right now, okay? So say we come back next week, or in Sunday, or even tomorrow, price, boom, it comes below here. Or over the next week we're going to be like, ooh, we're looking for a good move on Bitcoin. But be careful after, and don't be fooled. If you see Bitcoin hit a high number, come back down to these areas and stop, just like this. See all the wicks? We try to come up to that 5.6. We had this number since June. Now I'm giving you this number at least 2 weeks in advance, probably. And if we see the candles come down here, and I'm going to ask you a question. You need to logically think through this, so you all know what the battle plan is. I do this quite often. If I see my candles come down here, and I see them spike, but for the most part they're stopping here, or if not, exactly on there. What does this mean for me? What should I do? How should I be thinking if price is allowed to do that? And we're here. Just say that. Somebody tell me, please. Sell. Sell what? Sell what? Get out of the market, CJ says. Sell Bitcoin and other coins, says Pat. Oh. Okay. Okay. If price reaches here and stops, look for further market drops / crash. And I'm going to say it's going to be like a crash type event, not like the flash crash down to 0, but you're going to see another big dip and possibly us hit October prices when that happens. The reason is because the next move is going to be up. And that up move can get us here. And I'm going to put the words rash. Okay? That would be the time that God may give us, if we can see it in advance, this may be the time that God will give us to say, hey, we may want to exit some of our positions. We want to make sure our low buy orders are in for some of these October prices. So right now, I don't believe we're going down the zero crash at this moment. Of course not. I don't think that's the event at this time. It could be. Maybe if there's going to be hacks and stuff, it might happen at a time like that. But it may happen so that we can get those October prophetic numbers on charts. So as we go through cryptos today, as I said a couple weeks ago, I said, I feel in my spirit we need to make sure that we're looking at low price numbers of the map. And we've been seeing a lot of weakness across the board. A lot of cryptos move into weakness. Some setups were lost. Some new health that still hasn't appeared, like Shiba. We're still waiting for it to beat its watch line on the weekly chart. We've been waiting a few months now for it to come into that area, and it still hasn't. So I'm not permitted to take buys on Shiba. We hit all of our low Shiba orders that we're looking numbers, like the 17 numbers. We hit all of those. Now we're going to be even looking possibly for some lower numbers after we reach that type of event, which is here. So I want you guys to just know in advance, if we get to that vortex, the signs that we're going to get there is here. Do not be fooled when you see a big jump in prices into this vortex area. Don't be fooled when this comes down in Bitcoin's, Bitcoin's going in. Because I'll tell you this, my friends. If you weren't the same person you were when I first met you, think back to how many times you chased candles without reading or doing the best you can to read. How many times did we just buy at the top and we didn't really have a valid reason? Now, we may have been right, we may have been wrong, but we didn't know what we were reading. We weren't looking at it properly. We have to be really careful if we're just chasing after candles, because many times, even if we're right, if we don't have a valid reason, all we're doing is gambling. And you know who you are, right? We all know who we are. Because it's so delicious when you see prices rise. Ooh, I want to buy just because you see something rise. We need to get in the habit of, hey, if the train left the station, the train left the station. And if you buy, at least you made an educated decision. Even if you weren't the best at either drawing or whatever things you're trading, whatever technical indicators you guys are using, at least you're making an educated decision. And that's the difference between gamblers and farmers. That's the difference between people who are making an informed decision and people who are just rolling the dice. And I love to roll the dice, trust me. I play games all the time, but I don't gamble. We play Loteria at Christmas time at one of my grandma's house sometimes, and then we play left, right, center. But we don't gamble in the markets. We don't just say, I'm going to buy and I just hope. No, we have to make an informed decision, because a farmer could be a gambler as well. I'm just going to plant these seeds, but they don't know what they're doing. They're not reading the season. They're not looking and stacking the odds in their favor. Whether they're right or wrong, that's subjective. God plays a part in the weather, right? But we can at least, for our part, do what we need to do on our side. Do you guys understand that? Please be very careful of buying in the market when we just stop here, especially if it looks just like we saw the other day, like this, but in reverse. Okay, I'm going to flip this upside down just so you can imagine what it might look like. Oops, not that one. So if you see the market look like that, please, for the love of the Lord, don't throw yourself at buying the market, because this is a dangerous spot. I'm not saying we can't go below or go lower, but if you see it happen, don't just chase the candle for no reason. Look to actually do the opposite, because the smart wolves, they'll roar and they'll get them chasing, but they're really just manipulating the sheep so that they can slaughter them for the herd. Okay? Look for confirmations. That's when you do your homework on, hey, am I really looking at what we're looking? Then we can look at RSI. Then you can look at your indicators. You can draw watch lines. We can do a lot of stuff at that point. I'm not telling you to short, but it's very possible if a crash is going to happen. That's where I would do it. That's where the structure is. That's where the vortex is. That's where we may get a bounce if we see all the clues. We may want to be like, okay, I think I need to sell. I need to get out because the writing's on the wall. And sometimes we see it in slow motion. When is the lower vortex? Oh, that's a good question. That was a great question, says Paul. When is the lower vortex? Let's see if we can estimate it. We were looking at the daily chart. So let me see. Better flip it back around. the lower vortex needs to happen at least before this blue line. So I'm going to say this is October 2024. This vortex, the vortex is around August 7th. So probably the end of July, we may hit it. Now, we're not in that territory. We're playing chess 3 or 4 move in advance. Okay? As we often do, the next clue will be this little watch line. You break that watch line, that's your clue that you're getting into that territory. If we don't break that watch line, then we negate this analysis, but at least we knew what we were expecting. We can see the tide coming months, sometimes weeks in advance. In this case, it should be within days in advance at least. Okay, so we can see that. Any other questions? All right, unmute your microphone. It says that's just before the next Fed meeting, October 31st. By the way, something we'll get to probably at the end of the conversation. Just remember, a lot of our people in our community have been sending us reports that a lot of the exchanges are canceling the orders. It was KuCoin. It was another exchange that was at Coinbase. They were canceling. Or telling people they were going to cancel. Some people who thought they were going to get canceled didn't get canceled, and then later on found out they were canceled. Some orders were triggered. I was talking to an individual. He has some automatic trading bots that help him convert it to XRP and then immediately withdraw. And when his orders were canceled, the orders that were holding were triggered as if they were a withdrawal. He was like, "Oh, I got a confirmation that the withdrawal happened." He found that his orders were canceled. So that money was freed up, and when the money frees up, it has to do with taking advantage of the wealth transfer really quickly. It's a very interesting bot that he has established. But so please just know that my take on the situation is shenanigans. Shenanigans. If the exchanges are canceling the orders, that the exchanges may be expecting something. If you see then multiple exchanges, which now have 2 exchanges, 2 major ones, that are canceling those orders, you can say to yourself, what are they expecting? And why are they doing that? Why is a big thing. I have a lot of theories on that, but you can also say to yourself, what are they expecting? Are they expecting lower numbers to be hit? Are they trying to mitigate the situation because they're much of a Ponzi scheme? Are some of these exchanges Ponzi scheme is going to get caught with their pants down? Yes. Some of these exchanges who are like, hey, for every new customer, we'll give you this money, because some of them are giving interest, hoping new customers come in, robbing Peter to pay Paul. But eventually, if there's no new customers coming in, the flow of money stops, and they have to hightail it to Tahiti. And that's what happened with Coinbase. That's what happened with some of these other exchanges. Like, I would think at least six of them, who are just, some of these CEOs are getting arrested on the beaches of some weird country. And some of them are not getting arrested at all. And you'll never find them again. Because they're taking your money and they're basically running. Not your keys, not your crypto. Talk to Superfood about that. It's lots of fun conversations. So thank you, Superfood, for always being available for our community, by the way. And being a host for a lot of these conversations, by the way, after class. All right, we covered a lot of stuff, right? Let's now cover cryptos. We'll probably put this, if you guys are, by the way, if you're watching this online, if you're watching this or this clip online, sometimes I try to make public some of the more important matters regarding USDT, Bitcoin, or XRP. We talk about lots of cryptos. We talk about the markets. We teach how to read our method. This is our schedule and where you guys can find us. We're going to have tomorrow WordRoom at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we also have Chartroom 3 times a week. So I'm glad you guys are joining us. And our website's patreon.com/jsong_7. It's $18 for the full month. Thank you for supporting our family, our ministry. Thank you for getting involved and helping me continue to preach the gospel. We have daily Bible reading and interpretation of the Word of God. We read the Word of God before every single one of our meetings now. We used to do it at the end. We do them beforehand. And then we also have Word Room on Sunday where we have some music and we pray and we preach the Word of God. And then we have usually we take communion every other week or so for our Word Room. So thank you for joining us. If you guys want to fellowship with us, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.